We are here because we are dedicated to helping the entire CrossFit community. Determined to elevate coaches, box owners, athletes, and everything in between, we believe that this mission will begin right here, right now. While this time and this goal begins with you, our hope is that you take this fire ignited within you and weave it into your own life with the same unrelenting passion to give those you have the privilege of coming in contact with the best hour of their day.
Ready. You're the one who's never ready. You're never ready.
You're recording.
I know, and you're not ready. We're recording,
and everyone's gonna hear how you treat me.
All right, well, everybody's fully aware of how I treat you, which is quite frankly the way you deserve to be treated.
I have Stockholm syndrome. Is that what it is, or is it Munchausen?
No, you definitely. You may have one of those, but you are definitely a hypo. You're a hypo for sure.
One day they're gonna call it Fern syndrome, and that's when you have a partner that abuses you. And now I have Fern syndrome. So if you guys have a partner and he doesn't treat you right, you, like me, have Fern syndrome.
Yeah, which is usually a result of having somebody that resembles dead weight hanging around your life and causes you to abuse them.
Oh, did you check out the qualifier events?
They are brutal. Like they have to do 6 workouts in 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them I wouldn't say are like full workouts. There's like a 4-rep max in there. But be honest with
wait, like when was the last time you did a 4-rep max of anything?
And one, not often. And then there's 120. I mean, there's short ones, but my question
150 GHD in there, one of those, 150 pistols with some rope climbs in there. The handstand push-up one is gross.
Which one's that? I'm looking at them right now.
It's, and then there's like two couplets or 2 triplets, I think, but it's 2 parts.
Then there's a snatch workout with 185.
Right.
But my question is, 10% is too big. Come on.
What do you mean? Like to take 10% into the next round?
Yeah, 10%. Top 10% moves on. And I was talking to an affiliate owner. Excuse me.
What are you referring to this round, or from here? Top 10% moves on.
No. To make it to this round, you were in the top 10%. And I'm saying that's way too broad. It impacts the affiliates. So. But do you have any members that qualified?
3.
And you have a big space. It's a little different, but I'm talking to other affiliates out there this morning, and they're like, this is a pain in the ass because I've got people coming in like in the way because they feel the need to do these workouts.
Wait, are these people that qualified or just randoms?
No, qualified.
Oh, well, I mean, here's my personal opinion. If you qualified and that is a qualifier, then my personal opinion is that you should be flexible. So maybe you're in there late at night when all of the class is over. Like I'm not a fan of like you should get carte blanche of the space because you qualified for 10%. Like it's one of those things where like, hey, you need to work around the class schedule. Like, I'm sorry, we're not rearranging the whole class schedule because you need to place 15,000th on the second phase of this.
But that's my point of why 10% is too big, because you do have those people that have, let's be honest, 0 chance of making it to the next. I mean, 10% is huge. But you have to give them this right of like, hey, you did, like CrossFit is telling you, HQ home office, CrossFit home office is saying you've made it to the next round, but now we're saying it's not important as the affiliate owner. Like where do you draw the line? If Noah Olson was at your box, if Tia Claire's at your box, do they have to come in off hours? So like, how does that differentiate from Joe Schmo who qualified?
I think that those guys do come in off hours, or that's all planned out for them. So they plan.
I think they have their own spot. I think they have their own spot. No way.
So I've been in that gym. That's where I was for the qualifiers for the games at Training Think Tank there.
Right. There's no way
Georgia. It's in Alpharetta.
They're
It's
not
at Travis
telling
Mayer's
Noah
gym.
when to come in. They're not telling Noah when to come in. He's telling them when they're coming.
No,
Or
I'm
his
telling
coach
you
is
right
telling
now,
them.
Max has the whole day scheduled out for them. I guarantee it. He's like, we're gonna do it in this time frame. Here's probably the order. You two are gonna go head to head, but they have like it's a decent sized gym, right? So like they can cordon off some space over there depending on what they got going on, but I would imagine, Travis is the owner, he qualified. Like I would imagine that they're going to do their best to work around, like, so that it's not completely impacting the affiliate. Now, that is different because it's probably going to be those two and maybe a handful of probably all the training think tank, at least a lot of them will be there to do it together because that just makes sense from a competitive environment. But
Right.
if it's a normal affiliate where like everybody's just like, okay, cool, whatever. Like we had a couple people do it last night and they just kind of did it off to the side or in the small gym. It's just like, okay.
Okay, but now here's my question. Those three people, let's be honest, at your box, they have zero chance, right? I don't know who they are, but they have zero chance of making it to the next round, correct? I mean, zero is not fair. They have a
Correct.
1%, right?
Well, no, one of them definitely. She took a goose egg on the handstand push-up because she has zero strict handstand push-ups.
And I mean, and also let's throw into that, you don't have any level 4 coaches on your CrossFit Rife staff. We talked about that, so not helping this.
It's not even a thing. It's not even a thing. There's no such thing as a level 4 coach.
So, but you're defending my point of 10% is too big. They should have made it. I get it's a round number. It sounds good. 2 to 5%. That's who should have made it to the next round.
I mean, why not 10%? Like what does it matter? Like it's done by Sunday. Who cares?
If it's what does it matter, what's the point?
Because you want people to stay engaged. The point is engagement. I don't know if you know, but they're running a business.
Do you want people to stay engaged? Like, is that if those three people wouldn't have made it, are they less engaged in CrossFit than they now are? Does that do something substantial to their life? Do they feel like, wow?
They're definitely far more motivated for next year.
I don't know. I just don't think.
No.
I could see that, but at the same time, this girl that took a goose egg, she's great. She's fitter than me. She qualified. I didn't. Cool. But how much more motivated is she? Like, is she like, wow, next year I want to make it to the next round? No, she's not going to.
I mean, you don't know. She's pretty fit, with the exception of that.
Hey, look, if she reached out to me and says, look, I need a real coach. I need a level 4 coach. I want to make it.
And you're like, I don't know what to tell you. You're like, I'm not qualified.
Truth be told, people do reach out to me to program for them for like that level. That does nothing for me.
No, they don't.
They
do.
Are
you kidding? Hey, give me the name of this person.
They chose to remain
anonymous. We will bleep it out, but give me this name.
I don't want to say.
Don't fucking say Todd Okudo. Todd Okudo.
Well, Todd needs my help. Todd needs my help. No, people reach out, and I send them to the right. I'll, depending on their goals and aspirations, I'll send them to somebody. But I don't know. Does that do anything? The idea of programming for someone to go from 10% to 9% is one of the least exciting things I can think of doing in the CrossFit space. For me,
for me, I think it depends on the person. So I do enjoy programming. I don't do a ton of it because it's just not, it's time consuming and it's not super ROI positive for the vast majority. However, I do most of the programming, the individual programming I do is for guys who are trying to get into special programs in the military. That's cool. I genuinely love and have found that I'm very good at it. With regard to if they're trying to screen for SF or some of these even more elite programs, is getting them ready for that because they don't know what they don't know. And it's easy to program for known tests. That's my personal opinion. Here's
my programming. I'm going to save all those people money. Go buy yourself a vest, 30-pound weight, and an ice tub, and do that every day. There you go. You made it to the SEALs. Congrats.
So you're gonna sit in the ice. You're gonna sit in the ice tub with a vest on. Is that it?
No, I was actually listening to like Jocko or it wasn't Jocko, but another SEAL who somebody asked him like, "Hey, I've been sitting in ice tubs." Like he's like, "Don't do that." Like he was like, "Look, if I'm gonna kick you in the balls in 30 days, do you want to get kicked in the balls every day, or do you want to just get kicked in the balls on that one day? There's no sense in torturing yourself to get there."
That's probably the number one thing that I have to fix with a lot of those guys, which is they come in and they've completely just been slamming their head in a car door for years sometimes, and to show them that they don't have to do that in order to do really, really well in some of those screeners. This, it's just like, you don't need to do the mileage. Like, I need to show up there and hammer this test and pass the test, and then move on to, like the actual skill of being an operator, like, which I don't know anything about. Like, that's not, but for the test, we don't need to beat you up for the test. I need you to peak for the test, which means way less mileage, some different type of training rather than just doing the same thing every day. But it's fun. I like that kind of stuff. Like, I've had many guys go through those programs, and they all do very, very, very well.
That's the kind of stuff I like. I don't enjoy the, hey, I want to be a games competitor. Cool. And not only do I not enjoy it, there's people that are better at that than me. Whether it's, hey, I want to be fitter for real life, like an older person that just wants to be healthy. I love that type of programming, which really just comes down to CrossFit.com and scale it as needed. Or life-changing things like you're referring to. One of my favorite times programming was, I helped a woman train for a marathon. This is probably 10, 12 years ago, similar to what you're saying. And it's like, everyone, if you tell the world that I want to train for a marathon, they're going to tell you lots of miles during the week, long run on the weekend, right? That's like the go-to. And she did that. And then she trained, she did her first marathon. And then we backed off the mileage so substantially that she was stressed out. And then she PR'd her marathon.
Yep.
Like, I think the longest she ran was 12, like something like that, and that was weeks prior, which gave her body time to recover. That type of stuff is fun for me.
Yeah, I typically find that for those folks, you need to touch something to the tune of 75% of whatever test day looks like. So I think 12 is a little low, but so I would reach to 16 to 18, but 75% I found is the sweet spot. And you only need to do it a handful of times. You need to do one a little further out to see what happens, and one relatively close to validate that. But you should have a lot of other distances and other things going on to give you data points to be like, we're tracking. And then just an understanding of programming and things like this is where the understanding the fundamentals of periodization come in very handy, which is, understanding the concepts of supercompensation and where deloads need to happen. That is where all of that nerdy stuff comes in hand.
Yeah, but I think most people that do CrossFit, if they were like, hey, the marathon is this Sunday, it's not whether or not, your body could break and fall apart, after 10 miles or 12 miles, etc. But most of that is mental. And if you've been doing CrossFit, like, you could finish a marathon. How well you want to perform at that marathon.
It's your joints.
Yeah.
It's your joints. Like, your body's just not ready for the pounding. The average CrossFitter is more than fit enough. I mean, I've told this story before where I was walking, the last 8 miles of the marathon, where I was just like, it had nothing to do with my fitness level. Like, my joints were just not prepared for that many hours. And I ran the first half of it in an hour 42 or something like that. And then, so yeah, I mean, it's not that. So you need, there's a specific amount of adaptation that needs to happen with regard to that type of training and mileage, and you don't need to overdo it. There is a sweet spot there, minimum effective dose, and that's what you have to find with each athlete. And that, on that note, that has nothing to do with the topic for today's show. So well done yet again for derailing this podcast and bringing this down, this crumbling house of cards yet again.
I'm working this weekend. First seminar in a long time.
Well, yeah, probably be your last one based on that.
I'm teaching the clean and jerk. I went with the clean and jerk for the heavy day.
Well, then I can just tell you how this is going to go. Yeah, that's what you're going to teach.
You're going to see some great feedback. So the topic at hand is rate increases. When was the last time you've raised the rates at CrossFit Right?
I want to say roughly 2 years ago, I think. Wow. I have to go back and look, and we'll have,
That's a long time.
Why you? Well, they're relatively high, but so we've done other things. So we've eliminated memberships. We've gotten rid of some and moved people up. But that was the last one when we took our top offering, and then we've restructured since then as well, like how the pricing structure works. And then we've added different pricing structure for onboarding in there. So like with regard to just the base layer of I guess this year, that's
Yeah, well,
probably inaccurate, right?
that's why I said I think most people should be increasing their rates annually. I think you need to get them up to the standard, which it sounds like you did. And then I remember when I was a member at Club Fit in Jefferson Valley, my first gym, every year they'd send out a letter and it was, here's the new rates. And that was it. You just started charging your credit card. No different. And I don't remember ever complaining. Granted, my mom was probably paying the membership, but it wasn't ever like, oh, who am I going to complain to? I think the biggest mistake affiliates make is a 3-time limited membership. What do you think about that?
It's one of the top. It's definitely top 3 is I think is that this I think it's worth unpacking that, right? Because it's not about the 3-time a month membership. There is some flawed logic in that though, and we talked about this in the podcast I did with Dr. Yuri Fato about like why that is a bad idea, just based on the data involved with that. But people, number one, it's an idea that existed and still persists today within the affiliate spaces that should be an option. It's right up there with punch cards. And I believe the genesis of it is trying to appeal and be accommodating to all people rather than design something that gives results. That's what I think is where I think that idea is rooted, is like, well, they're not going to be here all the time. Well, they would if they paid for it.
Well, and in addition, and what you're referring to in that podcast is people that are training less are less educated and more injury prone, right? Ultimately.
And see less results.
Yeah, and then complain because they're not getting the results. The mistake I see, and I had a recent conversation with one of our affiliate U members about this, is at an absolute minimum, be strategic about that price point. But if your price point for 3 times a week, 12 times a month is $99 and your unlimited rate is $150 plus, yeah, of course no one's joining your unlimited because
right.
I tell people these days, it's like with a newborn, if I get 3 times a week out of the house to go to the gym, that's a win. I'm like stoked for that. That doesn't mean I don't want to train more than that, but it's like 3 times a week for your average person on this planet is a shit ton of exercise. So yeah, I'm going to pay $50 a month less given the opportunity.
So I think, and to play devil's advocate here, the answer is not. So I don't think you can raise your rates every year. I think obviously you have to stay within what the market will tolerate, and if you do that every single year, at some point I've priced myself out of the market. People are just like, it's just not worth it.
Well, you don't have to increase $5-10. You can increase $1.
I mean, you could. Like my point is like, how are we doing it and why, right? So you don't always have to raise your rates. Like you could offer an additional service, right? So this is the idea of average client value, and there's multiple ways to get that. So one of them is increasing rates. The other one is how you structure the memberships, where I could have a rate increase if they don't commit to a longer term, right? So now their membership goes up by $10 because they're now paying, we'll just make up numbers, let's say that it's $150. And if they're just like, if they don't want to commit for a year, then they're doing $160 and they're going to do 6 months. And if they just do month to month, then they pay $175. That is, inherently a rate increase, because if they're not committing, if you weren't doing that before, then you never had the opportunity to get more out of that client for committing for less time, and all of that is designed to get them to do what's best for them, which is like create a habit and a lifestyle that would lend itself to better health.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying. There's lots of ways to create a rate increase that isn't necessarily, hey, we're changing our rate to this. It's, yes, are we going from contracts, and now if you don't commit to a longer term, are we increasing the revenue? And I also want to be clear, 3 times a week is not necessarily all you need, but I think it's great for a lot of people. Yes, I try to work out 5, 6, even 7 times a week, but I'm saying people have busy lives. To get you your gym 3 times in a week, for some, that's all the exercise they do. So if you're going to do that, make sure it's priced where, like, for an extra $10, you can come unlimited. But more so, I don't think it's a blanket statement, but really, if you have a limited membership at your affiliate and you're listening to this, I would want to know more about it, and more often than not, get rid of it. And if you get those people to bump up to unlimited, which you and I know 99% of the time happens if done correctly, there's your rate increase.
Right. Yeah. I took this pool of athletes and but it's an even trade, right? So if they're coming more often, they're getting something for that additional spend. I think it's in many instances, the problem is that, number one, there is no logic or reason behind these pricing structures, kind of what you alluded to earlier, which is like, well, I just randomly made it 99 because I thought that's what it was. And then there was a $60 increase between that and the unlimited, at which point, from a logic standpoint or a psychological standpoint, there's no vehicle with which to drive this person to the price point that I think is appropriate. So just what I've done is I've incentivized in the wrong direction is usually how these work. They're like, well, why would I do that if I can just do this one? And it's like, yeah, I would agree. I cannot argue with that logic because that is a terrible design. So in some instances, it might not be a rate increase. It could indirectly be a rate increase via a redesign or a restructure of prices, right? So that is probably what needs to happen in more cases than not, honestly. However, there are exceptions, and there's probably way too many people that think they're in the exception than not. But if you have people that are paying less than $100 and coming for under unlimited membership, that needs to stop.
Where do you think is the low? Because we have people that reach out to us. No, you don't get it. Where I live, this. Where I live, this. Where that, etc. Where do you think is the?
I think that's a mindset problem, right? Because I could easily give them just as many examples of people in an almost identical demographic, mean earnings population who are doing way over that. So it's assumption. It's poor assumptions about what it is that people either value or can afford. And again, that is really problematic. You're not in the business of making assumptions. You're in the business of delivering results. And what is it worth to get somebody off of type 2 diabetes medication? What is it worth to cut 100 off of somebody? What is it worth to have somebody be able to play with their grandkids or avoid a nursing home? It's like probably a lot to those people if you can deliver on that. And that is the lens with which we should view this, not just, I want to make this for everybody. I mean, newsflash, not everybody wants your shit. They just don't.
Yeah, if you can't afford it, there's plenty of things. The examples, like, I don't show up at a Ferrari dealership like, I really want one. You don't get it. I don't make enough money, but I want one of these. Cool. Come back when you have enough money. Come back when you get a better partner, or just, and you start a better business.
Right. Planet Fitnesses are a perfect example. Just like, I want to help everybody. I'm like, no, you don't. It sounds benevolent and it sounds appealing, but no, you don't. If that was the case, if bringing the price down would force every person to buy a membership, then the Planet Fitnesses of the world would not have 5,000 to 6,000 members in their gym. They would have 40,000 to 50,000 people in their facilities or paying memberships to go there. If in fact driving the price down was the sole mechanism for getting people to take a fitness journey of some type. And clearly that's not happening. And if you're in the world of CrossFit, you're dealing with a totally different individual. And you have to understand that.
What do you think is the lowest dollar amount in the United States a box should be charging?
$150. I think the worst CrossFit gym on planet Earth is worth $150. I'm sorry.
No matter where it's located.
Just based on the methodology, I think it is. It changes lives, and I don't know how else to say that. Like, it is a life-changing thing. This podcast wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be 15,000 affiliates. CrossFit wouldn't be a global fitness brand if it did not change people's lives. So yeah, I think it's worth $150. I would think it's worth $150 based on just any, even if your coach was on their phone the whole time and the bars were rusted and everybody there had a shitty attitude. I still think it would be worth $150 to go in there and be able to do CrossFit. If I presented you a scenario where all of those things existed and that was your only option, meaning like Rogue went out of business and this is like the end of days, right? We're like, hey, it's the last box. And they're like, but it's the worst environment ever, but it's $150. I'm like, would you pay it? I would.
Yeah, I think you're being a little facetious. I think you're being extreme. I don't disagree with you to the point where it's like decent. Yes, if your coach is sitting down, eating Chipotle, ignoring you, the equipment sucks, the community sucks, I don't know that it's worth 150. But assuming,
well, those aren't so, but right. But what the point I'm making is like those are worth nothing, right? I think it's insane to pay any amount of dollars for something that is that bad. So yes, I am being hyperbolic, but the average run of the mill CrossFit gym, that needs help, right? That needs to dial up their coaching, and the facility needs to be cleaned, and the back end of the house is kind of a mess, but they're well intentioned. $150.
that I agree with. Yeah, if you're doing, even if you are making a lot of mistakes, but the box owner is trying hard, it'd be hard pressed not to be worth $150. I agree with you. So let's talk rate increases. This is something we've helped a lot of affiliates do. And as soon as you say the word rate increase, the affiliate owner gets incredibly stressed out. Their mindset goes to, I'm going to lose everyone, which to us is kind of ironic considering most of those same affiliates, when asked what their biggest strength is, will tell you it's their community. Like, I've got this amazing community. However,
everybody loves it here.
But if I decide to increase the rates by $5, there's going to be a mass exodus. So no, maybe you don't have the best community, because I show up at Starbucks and if they charge me $5 more for my coffee, guess what? I'm still drinking that coffee and I don't give a shit about the Starbucks community. So
it's not my third home.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the third place for me.
Let's lay it out there. When we talk about rate increases, what are we doing? What are we saying? Why are we doing it? And how can we make affiliate owners feel less stressed about it?
Well, so in no circumstances should this conversation be had in the absence of providing either moving forward or preferably prior to, more value. So what we are absolutely not advocating is that you do nothing and then you just decide that you want more money, so you're going to raise your rates, and nothing is going to change. You will not hire a full-time coach. You will buy no additional equipment. The floors will still be dirty. Your website will still be from 2007, and you will post something on social media once every 3 months.
Okay,
that is
but
not
let me
what we're
stop
advocating.
you. I agree with you, but let me stop you there. If that is happening and you've been open for 5, 7, 10 years and you've never changed rates, is that wrong to change rates?
No, it is wrong to change rates by not adding more value.
No, but I'm saying, if I've been open, there's boxes that have been open for 5 to 7 years and their rates are so incredibly low, even if they don't add value, which I agree with you, they should be doing, figure out a way to add value. But in other words, you go to Starbucks in that example, and they decide coffee is 30 cents more expensive per cup. Did they make their coffee better? Is their barista nicer? Is their parking lot bigger? No, but I'm still paying more. So at what point is it acceptable for affiliates to realize, well, shit, I've not changed my rates since 2011. Inflation and life happens. I need to bump up a little bit.
There is the math, or there is the P&L, which is, hey, your rent probably went up 2 to 3% every year that you had.
Their costs
right? So that increases,
up,
like your utility, the cost of energy goes up on average, I think between 3 to 5% every year. So if you're paying the electricity bill, that goes up. So there is that aspect of it that should be factored in. If sales tax went up, like that has to go, like in you're selling retail and it goes from 5 to 6 to maybe 7%, like that has to be factored in there. I mean, there's a lot of instances in which like it would be justified mathematically, but I still
That's fine.
don't think it should be done in the absence of increasing the value, because perceived value is a thing, whether people like it or not. And at the end of the day, your members kind of don't care, right? Like, you can do it, like it's justified, but they kind of don't care because they're like, well, and this is a whole capitalism discussion, but in most other instances, in most other interactions you have, financial transactions you have in your world, the cost is passed through to the consumer. Meaning, if cost goes up for me and I'm selling a shirt or I'm selling whatever, and the government taxes more, the price goes up, and now you, the end consumer, pay more money because the businesses just can't. They operate on a specific profit margin, or they're trying to, and they can't just eat the cost of that, right? Otherwise, they'd be like, hey, we would just like you to forfeit 5% of your bottom line every year, So there's definitely a conversation to be had about that. And if you haven't done that, it's definitely justified. I just think to make it a smooth transition, it should always be accompanied with showing value prior to doing it. So people are like, okay, cool, you've proven your worth, and I'm okay with this because I see what's going on here. But if it's just arbitrary and there's nothing else going on, even in the instances of Starbucks, if they were to do that, I would be willing to bet that if we peeled enough layers of the onion, there were things that they did in there that would have absolute perceived value if they showed us. And they're like, well, we've increased the efficiency with the drive-through works, and the app has been improved so that you can order prior to showing up, right? Like, those are value adds that would justify the price going up. So these are all things that you should be considering when you're doing that. And going back to where I'll pretty staunchly stay on that hill, which is like, it should not be done in the absence of some value add, like whatever it might be, whatever you can manage.
I agree with you there. And I do believe perception is reality. And also value, I think part of it is when you say this term value, box owners think more classes, more equipment, better or more coaching, etc. Maybe one of those things, or maybe it's just, hey, the bathrooms are cleaner. We got to, or where we did offer a 6 a.m. class, which you guys wanted to, or all of our coaches attended their level 2 last year. There is a lot of that. It's funny, as we're talking about
on
rate
fresh
increases,
paint job, like
yeah,
a fresh
value
paint
doesn't
job.
have to be.
There's endless number of ways to do that, and it doesn't always have to cost you a lot of money. We could go with something as just as simple as communicate with them more frequently.
Well, that's something you and I
Send out
both
a newsletter.
encourage.
Yes.
Right, that's value. Like, hey, don't forget we have this event, and we're doing Murph in a couple weeks or whatever, whatever the next event is. It was funny though, because as we're talking about this, and again, I think it strikes fear in the hearts of affiliate owners. I remember the first time I increased my rates, and by the way, when I did, I had to increase rates for those people that joined me on day one when they were promised they would never get a rate increase. So it's never going to be more challenging than that one. And we've helped people navigate that, where you're like, I get it, like, because we both have done that. Like, you promise those people that, but at this point, it's actually destroying your business, having people paying $80 when your rate is 180 and they're taking up space. But it was funny because the same affiliate owners that are afraid to increase rates, like, look around your box. You and I were talking about Noble before we hopped on this call. You're wearing Noble sweats, you're wearing Noble shoes. I was just thinking, like, the average t-shirt probably costs like $8. Like, and that's a decent t-shirt. You want a Next Level or an American Apparel t-shirt, you can probably get one online on Amazon or something for like $8 or $12, right? It's going to be plain. It's, it's going to be
nothing on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now look around your box, and for everyone wearing Noble, for everyone wearing Reebok, I mean, you and I sell some apparel through Best Hour. Obviously, you can check it out on our website, besthouroftheirday.com. We understand the markup, the margins. We help affiliate owners do that. A t-shirt, you can wind up paying 4 or 5 times what it's actually worth because it has a logo on it or something. And those are the same people we're afraid of increasing our rates by $5. Where we're actually like giving you like my energy, my time, my effort, like our time is finite. Our energy is, depreciating, and you're going to you would rather wear a Noble shirt that represents a company you know nothing about because it looks cool or your favorite athlete is represented by it. But the people that actually care about you, the people that are trying to make you healthier, get you off these type 2 diabetes medications, make you healthy to play with your grandkids, you're going to bitch and moan over $7 a month.
And just for everybody who's like getting a little bit riled up here, there are people that absolutely cannot afford that. Like that's a real thing. It is.
Sure.
They are outliers by large margins. They're few and far between, but they do exist, and you should do whatever you need to help those people out. Okay, so I am throwing that out there. What you're suggesting is what we're talking about is when this goes awry, everybody's just like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the $7. At which point there is a massive perceived value problem here, massive perceived value problem, which is why I always say like it cannot be done in the absence of value. It's not that they don't have money. I'm telling you right now, it's not that anybody who's paying for CrossFit has disposable income. Like that's just the way it works, right?
Right. You can't afford 90 and not 150, right? I mean, obviously, yes, there are people that like budgetary, right, like boom, that fits, but it's like if you can afford CrossFit, you can afford CrossFit.
Right. And I don't, it's not that it's 100 to 200. They could absolutely afford 200, 100%. Like if we broke down their budget, they could afford it. They don't find it valuable enough. They don't find what you do to be valuable enough. And that hurts to hear. Right. That's what people are afraid of. And we've talked about this before. It's not that you couldn't charge that. It's that fundamentally I, as the business owner, don't actually believe that it's worth that much. And then if I try to do that, they also don't believe it's worth that much because I've done nothing to show that it's worth that much. I haven't improved the space. I haven't improved the coaching staff. I haven't improved the website. I have not set up retail. I haven't done anything, like name something that would be like the bathrooms haven't been updated. There's no bidets, like whatever. You haven't done any of it. And that is why when that happens, they're going to be like, well, what would lead me to believe that this rate increase is going to somehow make its way to me down the road? Right? There's been no proof of concept here, which is why we suggest that you should be using profit first methodology and setting aside equipment and maintenance fee on a monthly basis and potentially, not always, doing an annual equipment fee that goes right back into the facility. It is an active aspect of your business and you running the business that should always be being addressed. Always. Well, there's multiple parts of the business that would need to be looked at and kind of cleaned up, if you will.
I think one of the most important things you just mentioned is just so many box owners don't believe in themselves and their own value that when they're presenting the cost to somebody new or increasing the cost to an existing member, the way they go about it is almost like they're embarrassed. Like, I can't believe I'm at, like, you know, here's a great example. You and I, when we launched Affiliate University, we charge a good amount for it. And the first few calls, I was like, okay, just so you know, the cost is expensive. And like, I'm like setting it up for failure. Like, here's why you shouldn't pay me this money. And then as we grew and as we really helped boxes and they're making more money, they're having more fun, they're telling their friends, I'm like, this is what we charge. And box owners need to be that confident in it. Like, you know, the results speak for themselves. If you want the results, we charge 150, we charge 200. And here's why. You know, going back to previous podcasts, know what you're selling. It's not your community, your coaching, your programming. Be able to express that immediately so you have that confidence. When people ask us what separates Affiliate U from so-and-so and so-and-so, I'm like, here's what it is and here's why we're worth it. And if you don't have the money or you don't find the value like I do, that's great. That's great. Go somewhere else. You have to be willing to be that strong in your beliefs about this is your business. This is, like, for most of us, our baby.
Who is it? I think it was John dropped in the group the other day. One of the affiliate owners who we're working with right now. He posted something. He's like, "Hey, I had the easiest sale of my life today," and he purchased a gym that wasn't doing so well, and we kind of pulled that thing way out. He's paying himself. He wasn't planning on paying himself for another 8 months, and he's paying himself twice what he thought he was going to be paying himself at this, 8 months from now. anyway, but he has the confidence because he and I have walked through it numerous times. We've outlined it, and he has the confidence that when he walks through all of that, he knows the work that he's put in to give this person a good experience. He knows what the value is he's going to be providing them moving forward. Therefore, gives him the confidence to walk in there and be like, yeah, this is what it costs. And quite frankly, it's a steal. And you should do this because it'll change your fucking life.
Yeah, the analogy I always use is people are going to walk into your box, and if you can open up their head and put in there what they're going to learn and the progress they're going to make and the changes they're going to have in their lives and how much happier they're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, they'd be like, yeah, let me pay more. Like this is worth more than that. Or ask them the question, like, how much, go to an existing member and say, hey, how much would I have to pay you for you to lose all of the progress you've made since joining here? And most likely they're going to say, well, I wouldn't want any money. I've made so much. Cool. Well,
right.
I've only been charging you 150 for that. You're telling me it's invaluable. So when we're thinking about rates, a lot of it just comes from the confidence of knowing what you're providing.
And there's do's and don'ts here, right? With like how to execute that. And so just so people don't step on their own PPs here, if you're uneasy about it, then the best course of action is to not do it right now. Come up with a plan on like when and how that's going to work, and then do everything humanly possible to do the things in the gym and around the gym that would set you up for success. So the easiest one I ever had was I think it was maybe 4 years ago at this point. And it was right before we expanded. So I think it was 4 years ago. So it's before we took all the new additional, well, it's not new anymore, but we doubled in size essentially. And for a year prior to that, we were buying new equipment. Every single month we were like, new this, new that, paint here, doing that, to the point where people were just coming up to me and asking me, are prices getting ready to go up? And I was like, they are, but we'll tell you when. You're going to get plenty of heads up, but yes, they will be going up in the future. And they're like, yeah, I just figured they would be based on all the stuff that you were doing. I'm like, okay, then I was doing it right? So if you're doing it right, the assumption is already there, and the assumption is it's fine because I can see where my money's going. That's the problem. That is the ultimate problem. People want to know where their money's going. Right. And as much as you think they might like you as a gym owner, they're not cool with you just taking money and putting it right in your pocket. Like, yes, you want to get paid. But if that was the sole purpose of the price increase, be like, well, I just want to make a little bit more money. They're definitely not cool with that.
And in fairness, though, if you're not making money and you're running a business, you need to figure out what those rates are that allow you to get paid. That's probably my biggest pet peeve that members have is like, how dare you raise rates? Oh, do you work for free? Do you work overtime? Like, would you work for free if your boss told you to come in this Saturday? But then they expect that because we're a box owner, we'll work 24/7. But, I agree with you there. And a lot of it is just putting that value out there to the point that, I think we spoke about it on a recent episode. One of our clients, give him a shout out, Christian in Florida, sent out a rate increase. The very first response he got was a member responding all caps, super. And all that's showing is,
right,
you've showed me the value in this place and it's worth it. And again, if you are increasing rates, we're not suggesting you double or you even 50%. Oftentimes it's somewhere between $5 and $15 per membership per month.
Yeah, and so which looks like something around 10%. So I think how this is communicated is important. And I think when people think how this is communicated, they automatically go to like, okay, well, what's the email going to say? How am I going to do that? That's actually not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do people perceive this action moving forward, how I communicate it, meaning like, do they see you there all the time, busting your ass, making sure the assault bikes never break, making sure the rowers are cleaning out the filters in the HVAC system and getting that thing up and running, the toilet paper's never out. Do they see those things? Do they see you reinvesting back into the equipment and into the staff, and you send somebody to a seminar of some sort? That is the communication that we're talking about. That needs to be in people's face so that they see it and they are proud to be a part of it, because they're just like, I want to be part of a machine that's getting better. then they're okay with it because they know what the result of that would be.
Yeah, and let's be clear, when we talk about communication, we help craft an email, and almost always in that, first of all, a mistake affiliate owners make all the time is being apologetic in that email. Like, I'm sorry, we have to raise, it's like, no, why? If you're apologizing again, that's just showing the perception. We're not worth this. Here it's going to be our new rates. We hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the cool things we've done in the last year, and we're excited to show you some of these new things that we're doing in 2021. Feel free to broadcast that, but we're not apologizing in there. But at the end of almost every email that we read and write and help construct, it's, and by the way, our door is open. You're not going to lose a member if at the end of this email, which shows all the value you've added, you say, hey, if this is a problem for you, talk to us.
Right.
It's your catch. It's your catch. Okay, so-and-so is upset about it. Cool. Remember in that email, I said, hey, talk to me. Let's talk about it. What's going on? And then you're going to have people that maybe we can't bump up their rate this month, or, they've been laid off or furloughed and all those things. Talk to them. But most of your people are going to be okay with it. Like, and when I say most, I'm saying like 99.5%.
Right. And so again, and do the math on this if it makes you feel better as an affiliate owner, which is okay, if in fact what we're saying is true, and that the bulk of these people will be okay with it, what does that increase in revenue look like? And then let's assume these other people leave. I'm almost 100% positive that you would still be net positive if those people did lose their mind and decide that they were not going to come back to your gym ever again. It would still work out, and it'll put you in a better position to continue to reinvest and improve what you do and continue to give people the best hour of their day and a better experience and all these other things. So it's not as simple as just like raise your rates. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. There could be a pretty extensive timeline involved with it. It's not just like next month. Like, that's also a terrible idea. There is a lot that goes involved into it. But again, this is a long game. So let's play a long game. Like, let's play that game and let's give ourselves the runway appropriate to make sure that we can prove our worth prior to doing this, so I can minimize and mitigate the outfall, the backlash that could maybe potentially come with this. But yeah, it is a real thing. Like, the cost of goods and services and real estate and all, they go up. And it could be, if I neglect the fact that that's how the real world works, go out of business, because if I'm getting, 5 to 7% sucked up due to other things that I'm just not paying attention to every year, well, that's 15% over 3 years. That's a lot.
And what we've learned over the years is that people that do give you any pushback or wind up leaving are ultimately the members you didn't like anyway. They're the ones that complain about everything. They're the ones that are probably going to leave next month because you decided to change the color on the wall, whatever it is. They're just the shitty members, if you will, that ultimately wind up going, and they're a pain in your ass. They're not the people you want to be hanging out with outside of class time. Or,
I'll play devil's advocate here. They might be. I think those people are few and far between. Or the reality is, like, I'm not giving them the perceived value that they want based on, the roughly 3 buckets that we know athletes fall into. Like, they would like to see more socials, or they want to see more equipment, or they want to see more training opportunities. If you're doing all of those things, you're not going to have any pushback. People are going to be like, yeah, this is totally cool. Like, I really dig it. And this is awesome. Thank you guys for creating such an amazing environment for us to come here and train at, because they're not going to find that anywhere else.
And again, if it happens to be one of those people, not just your, less than stellar members, talk to them. Hey, what are we not giving you? Like, that's where a lot of this goes wrong, that transparency and community. Hey, Fern, I see you're upset that we've raised our increase. What can we be doing better that would make you feel like you're getting the value for that dollar? Oh, I would love to see a double under clinic. Cool.
A new barbell.
Yeah. Cleaner barbells.
Not a single barbell.
Right?
Not a single barbell in this joint spins. And you're like, that's fair criticism.
I nearly broke my wrist, snatching the other day. Right. So yeah, I think that's it. What were we going to say?
No, that's it. I think you're right. Like, but the real problem at the heart of all this is fear. Like, people are afraid, and rather than confronting those fears with logical answers. It's just they come up with the alternative, which is no, everybody's going to just leave, leaving out the fact that there's like, I don't know, 58 other options that we could pursue that would not result in everybody leaving and still give the desired outcome that both parties actually want.
Yeah, boxes need to be less fearful of this, and it's
a Lombardi quote. That's fatigue makes cowards of us all. But I mean, that's part of it too. The fatigue of running this thing and being beaten by it for years on end can make you a coward.
Yeah, I think one of the best things we do for a lot of the affiliates we work with is help them navigate this. And ultimately, when you're getting paid a little bit more because your rates are going up and you can buy more equipment and you can have more fun, all of a sudden you're at an affiliate that you truly love and truly enjoy being at, which is why you did this to begin with. No one opened an affiliate to be like, I'm going to work 24/7. I'm going to ruin my relationship. I'm going to, not see my kids. And by the way, my fitness is going to go down and I'm going to be surrounded with people I don't like. Like that's, but a lot of, we laugh at it, but I mean, I was there. I mean, there was a period of time where my relationship, not my current relationship, but someone I was dating, I'm sure, that was shitty. I didn't like the members anymore. My training was not happening. And I'm like, why did I do this? You can't open an affiliate and live that way.
Yeah. So again, it's not a blanket statement, but it is something that should be considered, if not planned out over time. And there's a lot of ways you can figure this out. But I really hope this podcast helped, if not to even just open up the conversation about, because the number of affiliate owners I've talked to that are just absolutely not okay with having that conversation at all is probably the majority. And that hurts me to hear and see. So I'm hoping that helps. And if you guys have questions about it, just reach out. We're happy to chat with you in the DMs and kind of give you, our thoughts on that. But ultimately, what we have to remember is that if I can do this and I do it well, my members will benefit from it.
So you never miss an episode of the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel and on all major podcasting platforms at Best Hour of Their Day. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of the best hour of our day. See you next time.